So for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at excerpts from a study guide on Revelation 20. And this study guide is written specifically for believers.
Okay.
But, and this is important, our deep dive here, it's not about converting anyone.
Right.
It's about understanding what this chapter lays out, like what it actually says, and why it still has such a hold on people's imaginations, you know, even centuries after it was written.
It really is fascinating how this ancient text, with its, vivid imagery and these like dramatic prophecies, it still speaks to people today, even if they don't interpret it literally.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this thing. Chapter 20, it kicks off with Satan getting chained up for 1,000 years.
1,000 years.
A literal millennium, according to our source. And during this time, Christ rules over the earth. And get this, there are 4 distinct groups of people present.
Yeah, the source is really specific about these groups. And it's kind of interesting to see how they reflect certain beliefs about the end times within like this particular branch of Christianity.
Right. So first you got those who were raptured before the tribulation. Then you have those who converted during the tribulation, both Jews and Gentiles. So far, so good, right? Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
But then it gets really interesting. We also have those who were born during this 1,000-year reign of peace.
Okay.
So think about this. This generation has never known a world without Christ as king.
Right.
They've never faced persecution.
Wow.
They've never had to choose their faith when things were tough, when things were hard.
That raises some fascinating questions about the nature of faith, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, does faith forged in hardship, is that different from faith that's just sort of inherited? Like, is one more authentic than the other?
It really makes you wonder, if you've never had to fight for what you believe, are those beliefs truly your own? And then how would this generation react when things inevitably get shaken up?
Right.
Because guess what? Even paradise can't last forever.
At least not in Revelation 20.
Nope, not in Revelation 20.
Yeah.
The source tells us that after 1,000 years, Satan gets released.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like a final exam for those millennial kids.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, how often do we question the systems and beliefs we were raised in? Do we just accept them blindly? Or do we actually choose them? Maybe that's one of the things that Revelation 20 is trying to get at, this idea of truly owning your faith, even when, like, the easy road is right there in front of you.
It's a powerful concept for sure. And it resonates with us even today. I mean, we see it in our own lives, in the choices we make, and the values we embrace. Do we just follow the path that's laid out for us, or do we, forge our own?
Exactly. And in Revelation 20, those millennial kids, well, they face a pretty epic test when Satan comes back. They face a pretty epic test when Satan returns. This source, it describes this massive army, countless, like as the sands of the sea, and they're rising up to attack Jerusalem. I mean, talk about a visual, right?
Yeah, it's like a scene straight out like a blockbuster movie. Yeah. This overwhelming force of darkness just threatening to engulf like the city of God.
But then, bam, fire from heaven just wipes them out.
Wow.
Instantaneously, like shortest, most decisive battle ever.
It's a powerful symbol for sure of divine justice, the ultimate triumph of good over evil. But it also, I don't know, it makes you wonder about free will, right? Like if the outcome is already predetermined, if resistance is futile, then what does it even mean to choose?
That is deep. Okay, so after this epic showdown, things shift, like dramatically. We move from this massive battle to something way more personal. And I kind of think unsettling.
Oh.
The final judgment.
Okay.
And this time, it's not just those who side with Satan. It's everyone who didn't make the cut in that first resurrection.
Right.
Those whose names weren't written in the book of life.
Yeah, this judgment, it's depicted as like a deeply individual reckoning, where each person is assessed based on their deeds. And the book of life, I mean, that's a recurring symbol in so many religious texts, and it represents this divine record of those who are, destined for salvation.
And the source doesn't hold back on the imagery here. I mean, it describes earth and heaven literally fleeing from God's presence during this judgment.
I mean, can you imagine that? It's like it paints this picture of unimaginable power and awe.
Yeah.
Like it really speaks to the vastness of the divine, the limitations of human understanding.
Okay, so we've got the righteous ruling with Christ. We've got the rebellious being judged. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, even abstract concepts get thrown in the mix.
Really?
Yeah. Chapter 20 tells us that death and the grave, or Sheol, they're tossed into this lake of fire.
No.
And this isn't just any ordinary fire, okay? This is the second death. What's the significance of that?
So the lake of fire, it symbolizes like ultimate destruction, the complete annihilation of concepts like death and the grave. It's not really meant to be taken literally, but rather as a powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
For the triumph over suffering and separation from God.
It's interesting, right? Like, even though we're talking about all this fire and brimstone and stuff,
Yeah.
there's also this like sense of hope too. This idea that even death itself is vanquished. It offers a kind of comfort, at least within this belief system.
Yeah, it speaks to a very deep human longing. I think this longing for immortality, for a reality where death just has no power.
It really does make you think about our own fears and hopes. Even if you don't subscribe to, the theological framework of Revelation, it makes you think about our own fears and hopes, yeah? Even if someone doesn't, buy into the whole theological framework of Revelation.
Absolutely. It's, this whole chapter is packed with symbolism, allegory. Easy to get lost in just the events themselves, like it's a story.
Right.
But what's really fascinating is what it says about us.
Yeah.
About human nature, like our desire for justice, for peace,
Yeah.
a world without suffering.
Yeah, it's like even with all the judgment, the fire, all that, there's this like underlying yearning for something better. This
Right.
reality where things are made right.
And that yearning, that's universal, right?
Yeah.
It's not tied to any one belief. It's what pushes us to create art, to build communities, to fight for a world that's more just, more compassionate.
So, okay, to recap this wild ride we just took through Revelation 20, we got 1,000 years of peace, a generation that's never known hardship, right? Then cosmic test of faith, a battle that's just epic in scale, final judgment, and then like the ultimate destruction of death itself.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But the source, it's not just laying out facts. It uses all this to dig into some really big questions about faith, about free world, the meaning of like why we're even here.
And it made me think about something. The source is super focused on individual salvation, right?
Yeah.
But what about societal salvation? Like, could that 1,000-year utopia, even if it's temporary, could it be a blueprint for a better world?
That's a really interesting question. What if we could create a society where peace and justice actually win? What would that teach us about human potential? Could it be a glimpse into a different future entirely? One where we break past our limits and build something truly incredible?
Definitely something to think about. Revelation 20, yeah, it's got all that fire and brimstone, but it sparks hope too, possibility. It makes us think about the world we want to create, both as individuals and together.
And to never stop questioning, exploring, pushing for that better tomorrow.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into Revelation chapter 20. It's a chapter with intense imagery, deep questions, and it still resonates with us centuries later. What do you think about all this? Does the idea of 1,000-year utopia, does that get you thinking? Or does the final judgment part make you a little uneasy? Whatever your take is, Revelation 20, it gives us a unique way to look at our own beliefs and hopes for the future. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep pondering those big questions.